This interview is sponsored by Carol Daniel Construction.
Welcome back. Alicia Hernandez with GSBA TV, and this interview is sponsored by Carol Daniels Construction. And with me today is Angela. So Angela, thank you for being here with us today. Could you please tell us what your responsibilities are?
Sure. I'm the Director of Policy and Legislative Services, so I do the advocacy for GSBA as well as run the Policy Services Department.
Thank you. Can you give the audience a brief background of your career in policy legislation?
I came at it in an unusual way. I started as a volunteer with the PTA. When my son started kindergarten and I went to sign up for something to do with PTA, I don't do fundraising, terrible at arts and crafts, but they had legislation and I love politics, so I signed up. So 1993 was my first session at the legislature as a PTA volunteer. And it morphed from there. I eventually left my business and career, and then I went to a nonprofit and was running that in 2002. And then in 2005, I went to GSBA.
Great, thank you for that information. So you basically just found your passion through the PTA.
Yeah.
Why is it important to pay attention to policy within public education?
Policy, or the policies that a district has, those are the rules that everybody has to play by. So it's important that everybody knows that. You can't know you're about to get into trouble if you don't know what the policy is. Mm-hmm. And so the policies, which are more than the policy manual, it's the code of conduct, employee handbook, it's the way the board budgets, it's the decisions they make overall. Those are what sets the stage for the students to learn and for the district to run. And so it's important that everybody understand that and understand what you can and cannot do.
So policies don't always have to do with politics per se at the Capitol.
Right, absolutely. At the Capitol, it's legislation, and it's a run down the river kind of effect, because the legislature, or in the case of federal Congress or regulatory agencies, make rules or pass laws, and then at the state level, if it's a legislature, then it goes across the street to the state board. And the state board implements rules to implement the law, and then it goes down to the local level and they develop a policy to implement the law and the state board rule. And so there are a lot of different players. Judicial decisions. A court could make a decision that impacts what happens at the school setting, and so then they have to go back and review policies and change it based on that.
Great. Thank you so much for that information, Angela. What are a few policies that school boards and community members should pay attention to?
Part of that is kind of whatever is the topic at the moment is. Overall, one of the things I think is important for especially the public to understand is what the public participation policy is of the local board. To understand how they can interact and how they can impact the policy making. Most boards have their policy manuals online, and most of them post the policies that are under consideration. And so they take public comment on them. That's true of the state board level too, which more people should pay attention to what's happening there and comment on those rules. And for topics that are current events, transgender students has been a big topic for the last several years. So that's one of the things that's a big thing. Vaping, we just talked about that in the policy workshop. And the many forms of vaping and CBD and THC, and there's so many different things now where it used to be easy to say don't smoke cigarettes, no smoking allowed, and now there's so many different variations of that. Variations on who's a parent, who can enroll a child, who can be responsible for the child's education. So all of those kinds of things are very broad, and it can be hard sometimes to get a grasp on. So I would just encourage everybody to make sure they follow their school board. Their agendas are all posted on their website, and make sure that you know what they're doing and you can look at their work and you can follow them. That's how we hold elected officials accountable, is looking at the work they do.
So if the audience wants to find out more or learn more about these policies, they just have to go online, or where do they go to find more?
They can go online to the school. Every school district has a website. And so they can go onto the school district website. The Board of Education sometimes has a separate tab. Sometimes it's in About Us or somewhere on there. And then look for the policy manual. It may link back to eBoard Solutions Assembly, They may have their policies online with that, which as you know, is GSBA's company. So it may be that way, or some of the districts have it on their own website. So look for their policy manual and just look for their agendas and see when they're meeting and what they're doing.
Very useful information, definitely, to have. So thank you, Angela, for being with us today. Thank you for watching. And again, this interview was sponsored by Carol Daniels Construction. Thank you.